please change your chat settings to everyone instead of just hosts and panelists because we'll be using the chat throughout this session. But I'm so excited to have everyone here and very excited to be sharing information today about our brand new Xploris Labdisc. So this is a brand new product line from Boxlight, and we are so excited to share information about it with y'all. This was supposed to be Jillian's session. Unfortunately, she is under the weather today, so I am jumping in to share a presentation that she prepared for you. So credit and thanks go to her for putting this together, and thank you again to you all for being here. So first thing, if you want to shoot, if you are work with a specific grade, throw that in the chat. That way I know which age groups I'm talking to. This device is more optimized for the K-5 or K-6 sort of grade levels, but it can be used in different age groups. So I want to make sure that whatever examples and such I'm giving are specific to the people here today. All right, so what is the Xploris? The Xploris is the world's first integrated solution for math, science, coding, music, and art. So oftentimes you can find STEM products that are math and science or just math, but very rarely have I ever seen a product that is so well suited to all of these different subject areas. So I can't wait to tell you just everything you can do with this very small handheld device. But before I jump in, why STEM? Why STEAM? As we know, STEM jobs are regularly growing, they're in demand, and they actually represent 24% of the current workforce in the United States. By 2030, STEM jobs are expected to grow over 10%, which is compared to close to 5% for non-STEM jobs. So it is definitely a growing field, a growing area that we really want to make sure that we prepare our students for. And that's especially true in those younger grades because, as you can see with the last stat I have there, 92% of boys and a whopping 97% of girls lose interest in STEAM if they are not engaged by the fifth grade. So that really just tells you why a device here that is really focused on STEAM and a STEAM mindset is so important. So what is included with this device? So this is part of our Labdisc product line, and like our Labdisc, it has a whole bunch of sensors built in. So this one, you can see based on the screen there, probably a little easier than the one I have in my hand. It has a light sensor, a distance sensor, thermometer, as well as sound level, and then voltage sensors for like circuits and stuff on the side. One of the extra cool things about the back is it also has servo inputs and servo outputs. So you can control servo motors and even treat your Xploris like a robot by plugging in continuous rotation servos and attaching wheels. So that's just some of the hardware of it, and all of it is tied together by this really great pixel screen here on the front. So this is a 16 by 16 pixel grid that will update through all the different sensor readings and animations and things like that that you can do with this device. So it's very visual and very intuitive for our younger students. In addition to just the hardware, it has an incredibly powerful piece of software called Xplorilab that comes free with the device. And you can see just a few screenshots of it here on my screen. There is so much that Xplorilab can do. I won't be able to cover it in a 20-minute session, but I will hopefully whet your appetite and just show you a few ideas, get you inspired with some of the ways you could use this device in your classroom. So I'm not going to talk about all of these here. I'm actually going to pull it up and open it here in my computer. So you are now seeing live readings of the Xplorilab software. I actually have a Xploris device here plugged in, and I'm using a wired connection today just to eliminate any risk of technical issues, though it has a fantastic Bluetooth that works seamlessly, and you do not need to have it hardwired to your computer, but that is an option if you don't do Bluetooth in your district, for instance. So today I'm wired, but you can do either Bluetooth or wired connection to the software. Oh, it actually says I'm connected to Bluetooth and that I'm just using the wire for charging. Yeah, that's good too. So we have sort of three categories within Xplorilab. There's the science category. That's a lot like our existing Labdisc. If you're familiar with the Labdisc right now, would you just give me a thumbs up or a yes or a Y, something like that in the chat so I know if anyone here is familiar with that device, or if I should start at ground zero, you can give me an N or a no or anything like that if you aren't familiar with that one. But this platform, the science side of it, is very similar to our current Labdiscs. You have a sensing module and a data logger. And in sensing, we're going to get in the moment readings from this Labdisc. And so I'm going to actually just go split screen here. And we have sound level going over in this gauge here on the right. So as I talk, it gets louder. As I stop talking, it'll drop down. This one here at the bottom is distance. So if I tilt this up, I'm going to get a different distance reading. Sometimes you have to close and reopen this on the back. There it goes. All right, just had to activate it for me. And I can simply come in here. I'm going to change that to light because that one's really easy for me to adjust. So let me grab my little flashlight here. And as I put a light on it, now this is going to show light getting brighter and darker as I point it towards the light sensor on the back. And you can also see as I'm doing this, that the screen itself is updating with that sensor. So you can see even the colors adjust as the brightness goes up and down so that it's brighter when there's more light on the sensor. And it's darker when there's less. That's the sort of very visual thing that we've built into our Xploris to make it more intuitive for those younger students. Oh, and there goes my document camera. I've got some, USB ports that have a mind of their own sometimes, but that's okay. You'll see the device right now, but I'll make sure I get that rehooked up before you need to again. This is one of the viewing places within sensing. I can also view them as a bar graph. And so I'm going to switch that back to light again. And now when I click play, it's going to show me immediate readings that adjust as I impact the light. So I'm just moving my flashlight around. And again, as I get it brighter, you can see the bar graph is updating in the moment. As I take my flashlight away, it goes back down. So this will just update, students can see changes in data, but it's only a single piece of data at a time. And then the last one is pictographs. And like gauges, these values will update, will go up and down with different sensor inputs. So I can select a whole bunch of different sensors here. I will change that to my external thermometer and stick that in some nice, slightly warmer water here so you can see the pictograph goes up. When I move it to ice water, those numbers of pictograph, the pictographed icons are going to go down based on the temperature of the water it's sitting in. So this is just one of the modules. And what I like about this one specifically is you can do counting for younger students. You can do fractions for older students. So there's a lot of different ways to use pictographs. And of course, gauges is one that we have on our current Labdisc. And it's just a really good way to immediately see instant, in the moment readings of your different sensors so that you can see how they're changing, what's going on with them, and students can visually see it, whether it's, one of these types of gauges, whether it's a number, whether it's a color. I've dropped this into my warmer water here, so it's starting to switch to being more of a purple shade. And as that water heats up, it would go all the way up to red. It all depends on, how hot your water sample is. So this is sensing. This is your sort of basic science one, just beginning level. The other science one is data logger, and this is just like the current Labdisc. I can set my sensors here. I can set multiple sensors at once. So I'll do sound, external temperature, and light. I will do 100 samples, and let's say 10 per second. Why not? Hit apply, hit start, And now all of these sensor readings are going to adjust. I'm going to move my temperature probe over to the cold one. I'm going to turn my flashlight on, and you can see the sound levels going up and down as I talk. The light is adjusting as I put my flashlight on and off of it, and the temperature did a serious dive when I stuck it in the ice water. So all of these things are very quickly adjusting and updating, and I can see them all on the same graph. One of the nice things too is you have really powerful data analysis within this. So I can set points on my graph here, and they can tell me exactly what those readings are. I can do linear regression so that it tells me what the slope of the line is between those 2 points. You can add little pictures. You can add notes and annotations. Here we go. If I go to downloads, I downloaded some sunglasses type photos earlier today for a setup, and now I have a picture here on my graph of whatever was related to my experiment at that time. You can even do animated GIFs, which is really fun for students. So this is data logging, and this is just one view. We have a bar graph view, we have a table view, so you can get all this data. You can export it into Excel. You can view the data table side by side with your line graph or your bar graph. So there's a lot of options and flexibility for you within this environment. All right. Anyone who is getting ideas or things you could do using these sensors, sensing, using data logging, I'd love to hear them in the chat. The chat's been pretty quiet today, but I see lots of folks are in attendance today. So hit me up with your ideas. What experiments do you do in a science way that could be used with this device? And while you are typing those in, I'm going to keep moving on because we have such a little bit of time and I want to show off some of the other fun things. The next one I want to show is our art interfaces. So we have Composer, where students can actually write songs, write music, and they can set the duration of different lengths. They compose something that is very short, very long, send it to their device. Which is a lot of fun for students to have sort of that music side of things too. So, you know, the high notes are at the top, low notes are at the bottom. It's very intuitive for students. I hope the sound is coming through. I told it to share sound, so if anyone can, again, give me a thumbs up, let me know that sound is coming through on their end. I know this interface particularly is enhanced by having audio. Perfect. I hear that it is coming through. Thank you. All right, so that's Composer. And then the other art one is Animator. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, I actually have a background in animation. So this one I really like. And this is an interface where you can come in and design your own little animation. So this is one I put together right before this session. It is supposed to sort of be a molecule floating around in a liquid. It's, you know, pixel art. So you're going to be a little limited. No one's going to create a beautiful Michelangelo here, but you can create really fun things. And so you'll notice there are different layers. I have a background color layer, and then I have my molecule animated on top. And as I move through the different frames of my animation, it is showing me each of these different things that I've created. So I'm going to clear this out, start from scratch, and I'm going to show you one of the easiest ways you can do a very quick, fun animation. So oh, that was supposed to be my background layer. I guess I'll rebuild it over here. All right, so on this one, I'm building my background ocean, and then I need to come in here and, you know what, this will be easier to just start from scratch rather than delete all of that. All right, new ocean layer and a sky layer. And then on layer number 2, we have the ability to add a boat. Matthew, I see you've got a question for me in the chat about the Composer module. Does it allow for music notation, seeing quarter notes and eighth notes? It doesn't at this point, but we are still, this is a brand new product. The software is not finalized yet, so I can see about requesting that feature. I do not know if it is possible within the limitations of the software, but I love that concept. I know that would really help a lot of music teachers. So it does work in like quarters of a second and things like that, but I don't know if it actively shows, you know, the specific notes, or it doesn't yet, but it might be able to. Thank you for asking. All right, so while I've been answering that, I've been building a little sailboat here. And now I want to duplicate this frame, and I'm going to make my sailboat just go up and down. So I'm going to move it down one frame, duplicate, move it up one frame, duplicate, move it up one more, and now I can click play, and I have a very silly bobbing boat on my screen here. Now, the cool thing with this is I can actually hit the upload button and it will send that animation over to my Xploris itself, which I'm attached to a lot of different wires here, but my screen is too bright. There we go. Now you can see the boat bobbing up and down on my screen. Here, I'll actually stop sharing for just a second so you can see that a little better. So there's my fun animation. If I had the sound turned on my Xploris, it would also be showing me it would also be playing back the music that I wrote on the composer module because I left that open. So you can actually pair up animations with sound that you write. And then for this last little section of my STEM Wednesday, I'm going to show you our last environment, which is the control module. Now it seems that my document camera is fighting with Zoom for visibility, so I'm not actually able to show it to you on my document camera today, but I will maybe just try and adjust my webcam here so that you can see a little bit better what I am working on. And to make sure that that works, I'm going to turn off my virtual backdrop. So ignore the mess. I was planning on having a virtual backdrop in place. There we go. All right, so this is my experiment setup next to me. And then you've got the screen sharing going on here so you can see what I'm doing on the computer. So in the engineering module, we have something called control. And right now, this experiment that I have set up says, if the light level drops below a certain value, turn the voltage out on. So if we take a look at what I've got set up attached to my Xploris, I've got an LED here, and I have a 1 kilo ohm resistor on my circuit. And so I'm going to hit play, and because the light readings right now are coming in really dark on my screen, the flashlight's or the LED is going to turn on. So can you see the light showing up? There it goes. That's a good angle for it. And now if I turn the flashlight on so that there's light hitting that light sensor, the LED turns off, turns on, turns off, turns on. And so this is a coding interface for your students. They can create simple if-then statements like this that can control physical outputs, such as fans, LEDs, servo motors, all sorts of really cool things, such as driving your robot around in a circle. The other one I have queued up for today, let me open it up, is called Molecule. And so this one actually relates to the molecule animation that I showed you in the animator one, and it's going to use temperature. So I'm going to stick my temperature probe in my ice water here, and you can see on the screen that if the temperature is between 0 degrees Celsius and 60 degrees Celsius, we're going to be adjusting the animation speed. So as the temperature gets hotter, the speed of my molecule animation is going to get faster. So I'm going to click play, and now on my screen, you can see the dark spot moving around. That's my molecule. Let's speed that up now by sticking it in the hot water on my hot plate here. And the dot is moving around much faster because it is being controlled by the inputs. So what I love about this is that it is very interdisciplinary STEAM. We are not talking here about just science, just math, just art, just animation. It is all of these things at once. And that's the real power of the Xploris. So we have all of these different interfaces that talk to each other, that work together to create these interdisciplinary, memorable learning experiences for students. And most important of all is that we do have curriculum already ready to go for this new product. And you can, of course, find that at mystemkits.com. That is where all of our lesson plans live, and more are constantly being developed for this new product. So I want to share one quick sample that I wrote using the animation interface, and it's called Pixelated Petroglyphs. So petroglyphs are rock carvings, like you can see on the screen here, that ancient peoples all over the world left as a way to tell their stories. So in this activity, students learn all about Native American culture specifically, and the petroglyphs they left, and what the significance of the symbols were within that specific tribe. And then they get a chance to tell something about themselves, a hobby or something that they enjoy doing, using a animated petroglyph on the Explorer screen. And then for any of you who also have 3D printers, you can take on our correlated design challenge called Printed Petroglyphs, where they then also create a static petroglyph and 3D print it, like you can see here. And this again talks about something that is important to them. So join us next week. I will be back. The next week's session is a 3D printing session all about converting 2D images to 3D models in RoboPrint. Now, even if you don't have a Robo 3D printer, but you have a different 3D printer, RoboPrint is freely available to download on our website. So you are welcome to go in there and download that software and do the converting of 2D to 3D graphics with us next week. And it's a really fun way. I've got lots of fun different activities to do, science, social studies, things like that, where you can use that software to very quickly create some very fun 3D models. So that'll be next Wednesday, same time. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and see if anyone has questions about the Xploris. I know I covered a whole bunch of things on it, hopefully gave you some ideas and inspiration for what that product can do. But I would love to hear your thoughts, your feedback, or just any questions you have about it. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and I'll let you get back to whatever you were doing. Looks like a great product. Thank you again, and have a great day. Oh, thank you.